Hello, I'm Kenny Smith, the Student Media Advisor in the Journalism and Mass Communication Department at Samford University, where it is another beautiful fall afternoon. Every day at Sanford, I have the great opportunity to work with students on terrific student-produced projects like the Sanford Crimson, which is our award-winning weekly campus newspaper, The Local, a twice-a-year published award-winning general interest news magazine, and also the Sanford News Network, which is our cable news program. This video is one of our series that hopes to help answer some questions that we often get from high school student journalists and also the high school journalism teacher. And the question we wanted to help answer today is, how can I generate better story ideas? I'd love to tell you about that, but first I want to tell you a little bit more about Samford University. Located in beautiful and historic Birmingham, Alabama, Samford University has 5,200 students from 46 states and 32 countries around the world. Sanford was earlier this year ranked the 4th best university in the South, according to the U.S. News and World Report. Our student-to-faculty ratio is 12 to 1 in almost every class. You have great opportunities then for your professors to get to know you. College Factual calls our JMC program the top journalism program in the state, a top 50 best value in journalism education in the nation, and one of the top 15 programs in the South. In journalism and mass communication, our students focus on print and online journalism, broadcast media, public relations, and advertising. We have minors in sports media and film production, and we offer special interest classes for things like reality television production and music video production. Ours is a diverse and exciting program, and our students get results. As graduates, they've gone on to win Emmys, work at places like ESPN, The Washington Post, and other newspapers across the country. They're at television stations here in Birmingham. They're also in Louisiana and Houston, Texas, and beyond. They are editors, book publishers, and reporters. Our alumni are actors, filmmakers, and photographers. As graduates, they've gone on to become designers, advertising executives, and media buyers. They are government staffers, lawyers, and marketing strategists. They work in traditional shops and in cutting-edge media. And they work in cool cities like Atlanta, Nashville, Washington, D.C., New York City, and more. And in one of the first classes they all take, one subject that comes up an awful lot is, how do I generate better story ideas? A couple of things to keep in mind right from the top are this. First off, some people come by the idea of making story ideas like they were built exclusively for that job, and that's great. If that's the kind of person you are, good for you. Keep your eyes open and keep asking questions of everything. That curiosity is a great skill to have. The other side of that coin, if that's not a skill that you naturally have, don't worry about that too much, because you can learn a lot of those same skills. And I was definitely in that second category. I always struggled as a young student journalist with coming up with story ideas. You can learn how to do that sort of thing, and I'm going to talk with you about some of those here today. A second thing to always keep in mind is that while you're in student media, you've got a wonderful advantage, a wonderful opportunity, because you're covering people that you know a great deal about. They're your friends, your classmates, people you see in the hall, people that you've spent a lot of time with in the school and maybe after school functions, people that you really are growing up with. You know their troubles, you know what's going on campus, you know what's working on campus, and some of the things that are a little more difficult on campus perhaps than they should be. You know a lot of story ideas already. You just have to think about them both in terms of you being a student in that high school student experience, but also in the student media experience. What can I do about this particular issue that turns it into a story? So keep your eyes open, your ears to the ground with that. They come right to you at that point. It's a great thing to be a member of the student media, because people will eventually come to you because they know you as well. A couple of questions we like to have student reporters ask themselves are these, and we always have them write these down, because the answers when you write them down are a lot different than when you say them out loud. The first question I like to ask students is this: what issues are important? So from your point of view, what issues are important to high school students on your campus? I'll give you an example that was something that was always a problem on my campus. My high school was sitting right next to a railroad tracks out in the country, so the trains went by really fast, and this was a very dangerous scenario because they often went by early in the morning before classes. They often went by early in the afternoon, sometimes right after classes let out. It was pretty dangerous, and sometimes it was unfortunately tragic. So we had several stories that we could run out of a situation like this. For example, are the bus drivers trained? It's a simple, small story. Do they all stop and behave properly at railroad tracks? Easy story to write, right? Are we trained as drivers, particularly young drivers, tend to race through things? That can be unfortunate sometimes when there's a train coming by. Do the arms on the train tracks Do they lower and open properly? That's more of a city or a county government level story, but it's certainly one that appeals to your audience, because at the end of the day, about half of the students in my high school in that scenario were going across those tracks twice to get to school and to go back home. And you better believe they were concerned about that when the lights went on, when the arms went down, or sometimes if they didn't go down, am I making the crossing at the right time? There's all kinds of stories that you can go through there, and sometimes there's a tragic story in something like that too. For example, quick anecdote. High school band marched in the mornings. The band director told the band, if you're late, don't show up. Young man was trying to get to band to not be late, and he got hit by a train early in the morning, and that young man died because he was in a rush. It's a terrible story. So it's an accident, one that can't really be blamed, assigned blame to anybody, but how do you think that band director felt for the rest of his career? You know, an incredible, moving, powerful story that we covered right there. So what issues are important to your friends, to your campus, and to the local residents in the area immediately surrounding the school? Already should be half a dozen story ideas coming to you there. Now answer this question for yourself. Write down the question and answer this one. How can you cover those topics? What challenges do you face in covering those stories? A couple of other questions you can ask yourself in general. I like to call this the rule of fives. I say to students, break out a notebook that's just for this, get an app that's just for this, whatever works for you, and write 5 of these down every week. What are 5 things that students worry about? What are 5 things that students enjoy? What are 5 things that make me angry? 5 things that make me happy? What are 5 topics that I've heard discussed this week, that I've overheard? What are 5 conversations I've been a part of this week? What are 5 of the things that we're talking about at home, in my family, my brothers, sisters, friends? What are 5 things I don't understand? Now, there's a couple of dozen stories right there. If you answer 5 of those every week, at the end of the week, these are things that have been going on, and you've got 5 for each of those questions, tons of story ideas right there, okay? So then, if we take those happy, angry, things I've overheard, things I've participated in, things that we worry about, things that we enjoy, if we take to some research, we go online, we perhaps go to the library and start looking things up, we can find some statistics, some facts that support all manner of subject matter, and we've got some great stories underway. Then we go find sources, and we start doing the reporting, and we start doing the writing, and at that point, you've got some great content for your audience. So let's take one example. We'll go back to the railroad track story again. I've got to find some rationale for this story. Why is this important? Well, it's a safety issue, right? So right now, if I can spell that out to myself, I can more easily spell that out to my audience. I've got my big topic. There's a railroad tracks here, there's a high school here. Neither one of those are going to move, so we've got to figure out a way to safely coexist, right? But that's a big, broad, general topic, something that your English teacher probably tells you a lot. Great idea. Narrow it down, narrow it down, narrow it down. And that's something that we talk about in journalism a lot too. Get more specific. Each story should have a particular subtopic. So I've mentioned a couple about that particular railroad track story. We could have a school bus safety story, we could have a driver's ed safety story, we could have the story about the teacher who is impacted by the loss of one of his students and carries a bit of guilt for something that he said that was part of the concern for what ultimately led to a tragic tale. All of those things are great subtopics. Don't cram them into one story, break them out into several. Now you've got a series. Now you've got stuff that something you can expound on, get great quotes, tell great stories, and be a great service to your readership. I hope these have been some helpful tips for you. If you have questions that you would like us to try and answer, please let us know. You can find us online, find us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, send us emails. Any of that works. Get us the ideas, get us the questions, and we'll find some good answers for you. Also, if you'll scroll down on the YouTube page just a little bit, I've left you some information today about some of our many journalism and mass communication departmental scholarships for students at Sanford University. We'd love for you to check out those links as well and apply for some scholarships when you get ready to start the college search. If you have other questions, please let us know. Until then, I want to thank you for your time, wish you all the best. Happy story hunting, great writing, talk soon.